Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I'm DV LeBron. Today I have a very special guest, Miss Rhonda Lundrum, who is running for Red Oak ISD School Board, candidate place 5. How are you doing, ma'am?
I'm good. Thank you.
Well, ma'am, I put out a call on Red Oak Talk and Red Oak Talk 2 and Red Oak 2.555 that if anybody, any other candidates from Red Oak in any capacity wanted to come on the show, they could reach out to me. And you did reach out, and I appreciate it so much. I haven't had a chance to cover Red Oak too much because I'll be honest with you, Midlothian and Waxahachie keep me so busy. But you guys have a lot going on over there, and I've been meaning to get over there. I did get a chance to cover the bond last year a little bit, a pro and against. I had them on, so you guys can kind of make your own decision. But I'm very happy to have Miss Rhonda Lundrum on to speak about the issues that are affecting ROISD. So first, ma'am, there's a lot of, new houses. There's a lot of people who came to the area that may not know who Rhonda Lundrum is. Is it okay if I call you Rhonda through the show?
Please do.
Okay, ma'am. So there's a lot of people who don't know you. So can you go ahead and give me a bio on you?
I can. We have lived in this community for 36 years. We raised our daughters here, and they both went to Red Oak, kindergarten through 12th grade. I'm actually a retired teacher and administrator, and I served 5 years in Duncanville and then 25 years in Red Oak, and I retired from Red Oak. So we just love the community and have just hung around. We were here when Junior's Barbecue was probably the only place to eat, and there was just one grocery store, and Red Oak Drug was the go-to for drugstores. And so we've seen lots take place and a lot of changes, and they've been good changes.
Well, yeah, definitely have been changes. Like I was talking to Mr. Knight, and he was
Mm.
telling me about the sign once saying 500 and some odd people in the city or in the town of Red Oak. I couldn't even imagine that. That it's just not something I've ever lived in. I mean, coming to Texas, these are the smallest towns I've ever lived in. So, and I love it. I love the community. So you've been in Red Oak for a long time, and you were an educator, and thank you for doing that. And like I tell all the candidates that come on, thank you for wanting to serve your community. The Ellis Talker doesn't take sides on anybody, but I congratulate every single person that decides that they want to put themselves through the meat grinder that is Ellis County politics, because people get really ugly, and it is a rough and tumble thing, unfortunately, and it's it's good that you want to serve your community and continue to serve your community. So why the school board? I mean, why'd you decide to run for that?
Well, I think that I can add a lot of value to the school board and to things that the school board is charged with doing, and a lot of it is my background in education. So, as a new school board person coming on, they may not have a lot of knowledge background about all the testing and how the classes work at the high school, and how you've got your graduation plan, et cetera, and dealing with what elementary kids need, what middle school kids need. So I just think I bring a little bit of a different perspective, and I hope and I feel like it can be a positive one.
And it is yeah, it is a tough thing to go in, and having that educational background does help. You've seen a lot of issues in your time of teaching that are affecting the school, and we're going to go into those things. But I wanted to ask you kind of theory questions first. And it's kind of what I do with candidates. I wanted to know what is the proper role of the school board in the lives of the children, the teachers, the people of Red Oak.
The school board approves who is hired, and if someone has to be let go or things like that, they're aware of all of that that's going on. But that's not the job of why we're there. That is for the superintendent and the administrators at the district to do all of that. So we have to have faith and trust in our administrative staff. So I mean, we're just there to provide some oversight, and to be a positive voice of the community, and that is very important to me as well. And a school board that projects unity, that we are all there for the same reason. So
That
those are some of my visions and goals.
Okay.
Nothing to hide.
Right. And with transparency comes trust, and that's a very
Yeah.
important thing, especially when we're asking for things like bonds, like we're going to
Yeah.
talk later.
Yes,
That trust between the school and the parents, the taxpayers, that's big. It could be the difference between getting a school that's supported and a school that's not.
it is. That is a huge area. And I'm a taxpayer myself, so I get it.
Mm. And it's the place is growing. There is some serious growth going on,
Hmm.
and that's putting a lot of strain on everything from
Yeah.
the city portion to the school portion. And I'm gonna bust out some numbers here in a minute, but I wanted to ask you kind of in general, a tax question. So I wanted to know, what are your general thoughts on taxes, because there's polls and stuff, and there's people who say, hey, there's people losing their homes because of property taxes, especially those in fixed things. So the property tax, the biggest part of property tax bill is the school board. If you're elected, you're going to be one of the team that's going to be picking a tax rate. So I wanted to know your overall thoughts on taxes, cutting taxes. What is your overall view on them?
Well, unfortunately, taxes are a must because that's the way the school district operates. Honestly, that's the way the county gets their money and things like that, as is the state of Texas. So I understand that taxes are important, but at the same time, I believe taxes need to be reasonable. Um, we don't want we don't want to put someone out of their home because they can't pay the taxes. So, I just think when you're setting a tax rate, especially as a school board, you need to be reasonable, practical, and the school board is not it's a nonprofit, organization. So we don't need to have lots of money just rolling in and saving it and hoarding it. That's not the designation for the school. That's not how that should work. So, taxes enough to cover expenses and to make things happen for the school district, but not to create huge burdens on the taxpayers and the citizens of our city and our county.
One of the things that go into that, and when you said about taxes, the reason why taxes are necessary evil is to pay for certain things like the schools, and so the kids could have schools. Well, that's where spending comes in, and the budget time, there's numbers crunched, and the superintendent's going to present numbers to you. Hey, we need this, we need that. Never seen government not want more. I've been involved with the government in one way or the other since 96. So I've always seen them want more. So I wanted to ask you, when you're going through the budget process, what can the voters of Red Oak expect from you? Will you be a good steward to their money?
Absolutely. I have to be a good steward of my own money, and I understand that. And I mean, it's just like, you have this much money that's coming in. This is what you need to do with this much money. Um, and you have to look at your schools, you have to look at the programs that you have, and you need to make sure you're covering those bases. And it doesn't need to be a lot of frou-frou. It needs to be a very basic, straightforward budget that all of this is going toward kids and staff, um, and
The
you
things
know
that are needed.
just the things that are needed, just the daily operations that are needed. I mean, just no frou-frou, no fluff,
I
just
like that. The frou frou.
needed.
I like that, Rhonda. The frou frou. Yes, yes. It is
Okay.
real. It is real. I mean, there's a lot of fanciness that goes into stuff, and fancy is expensive, definitely.
Yes.
So, we've talked about taxes and we talked about the budget. Is there something when you're going through the budget, if you're elected and you're looking at the budget for the year, is there things that you're going to be looking at that maybe we can, or maybe you can get reduced, or maybe not approve that, or are you going to be looking to cut certain items that won't be a detriment to the children?
I have no I have no immediate answer for that because
Mhm.
I've not had a chance to look at the budget. Um, that's something I certainly would look at, and to see if there are areas when I think, oh, well, maybe that's not as necessary, but I see a need over here.
Hmm.
So I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't have any agenda going in. That's not to say something wouldn't come up
Hmm.
and something I would like to discuss and get deeper into. Should I get in the position and have the opportunity to look at the budget?
Yeah, I was certainly talking hypothetical because I
Yeah.
understand. Like I've looked at in the last 3 years, I've gotten to look at a lot of these budgets, and oh, Rhonda, I can't. Yeah, it's too much for this. For this brain that it's too much for the capacity of this old vet's brain. But there's a lot going on in there. But what I try to get is to find out where you're at when it comes to when you're looking at the budget, because there's always going to be something that's needed, and just looking over it. One of the big items that are being talked about is the bond. I
Hmm.
mean, it is everywhere, and you have seen the vitriol that it has brought out. And I know that Facebook is not the real world, Twitter's not the real world, but a lot of people from Red Oak are on that thing.
Yeah.
And so, you discount it at your peril. So I wanted to kind of look at that. And I have that website. I actually have the Red Oak ISD website on there. And this Red Oak ISD website, it goes into the bond, the growth. So you have Red Oak High School projected to grow, uh, to 2,297, 106%. Red Oak Middle School, 163%. And the biggest argument for all the bonds have been that middle school. So
Yeah.
just in general, have you had a chance to see that middle school and some of the overcrowding that they're talking about?
I have. I am. I am on the Education Foundation board of directors. I'm actually the vice president, and I get an opportunity to go in several of the schools a couple of times a month. Um, and every time I'm at the middle school, I think, bless their hearts. And I've been there during passing period. I haven't been there at lunch yet, and that's kind of blows my mind about the pictures I've seen. Um, but I mean, just at passing period, they're shoulder to shoulder, arm to arm, and that's just too much. And those are not skinny halls in that building. I mean, they're fairly decent sized halls, and I mean the kids are just crammed in there. And I mean they need some relief. They need some help.
It is something that I hear about consistently. Now, I don't have a chance to look at it, but those of you involved in that community understand that. So currently, ROMS is at 1,550 students. Wow, that's a lot. They're using CTE classrooms, and then
Mhm.
they have a temporary lease with TSDC for CTE stuff. They added 3 more portables, um, large MS issue with fewer opportunities. There's a lot of stuff going on, and I definitely want to cover some of the other stuff outside the bond. But there's been a history of bonds from, according to their packet, from the last bond was passed in 2007. Since then, there have been 3 bonds, and they've all gone down in flames.
Yeah.
And so, do you? And I wanted to talk to you about this, Ronna. If you could kind of tell the people, just the bond in general, because some people may not know how these things come about. So, if you could kind of just give a 30,000 foot view of how that worked out.
Well, basically, there were some studies done. There was a committee formed to do a study, and one of the things that they did was they toured all the facilities and they looked at numbers and things like that. And out of that committee, the very first bond that was proposed almost 2 years ago or a year ago, where we had 4 propositions for several different things. And honestly, it was a lot of things that needed to be done. The middle school being one of them, the stadium, the high school stadium having an overhaul. I can't tell you how needed that is. Um, but so that's how that kind of came about. How they came up with their number is purely working with the architect for a price on a building. And I hope this is answering some of your questions.
No,
But
that's fine.
were,
Yeah.
yeah, but there was a lot of community input to come up with what needed to be on the bond. And so when that bond failed with the 4 propositions, Miss Stanford and her team went back to the drawing board to say, okay, what is it about these 4 propositions? What was it that caused it to fail? What is the biggest opposition? What do you want to see? And so they're like, there were too many things on there. Just boil it down to one. And so the most immediate pressing need is that middle school. And then, they wanted to, the no voters wanted to know what it was going to look like. They didn't want a Taj Mahal. Well, honestly, none of our buildings are a Taj Mahal.
Right.
They're very basic, aesthetically pleasing schools, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's what they've done. They bumped it down to the bare basics. We just need the middle school. Help us with the middle school. We're not asking for a Taj Mahal. We just want to have a nice looking building big enough to house our students and to provide some of the extracurriculars that are in place, such as band and choir, debate, tennis, football, cheer, drill team, all of those that our students in the middle school right now, not everybody can participate, and not everybody's going to be able to participate with an additional middle school, but more of them will be. There will be more opportunities for more kids. So, I mean, that's kind of it, basic in a nutshell, what the district is asking for right now is a middle school to help us out.
And the tax burden, as and I'm just going off the ROISD website, and you can go on here and you can check it yourself and go through numbers. So yes, your property taxes at the current rate will pay back the bond over a typical 30-year note, like a thing they're saying. RSD has 80 million current in debt service. Okay, so they're paying 80 million in debt service. We have paid off a refinance bond and utilized maintenance tax notes. So there are concerns about adding to the current debt. What would you do to assuage the fear of a parent, concerned about that, about, hey, we already have 80 million. Do we really want to add, so many million more?
Well, I mean, good budget sense, you don't ever want to have to add, to your debt. I mean, you want to pay off your debt as quickly as you can and efficiently as you can, but you can't sacrifice a need, especially when that need is kids and it's their education. That the school district was able to keep the tax rate at the same rate. Now they can't, of course, they can't keep the longevity of that tax rate, because it is like paying the mortgage on your house. You got that for 30 years. And if you refinance, you tack on more to it. So, I mean, you just kind of have to bite the bullet and do it, and not be extravagant. I can't reiterate that enough. They're not asking for anything extravagant. I mean, just basic, very basic, just to go forth with educating the kids, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in particular, with that building, and so that we can continue to grow and flourish.
Rhonda, why not and this is something that I've seen thrown out, so I'm just kind of putting out there, and just to
Sure.
one of the things that are mentioned is, well, why not put a bunch of portables in there and just add portables?
Oh goodness. Portables are not the answer really for anything in this day and age. Safety's a huge concern for me, and rightly so, with things that have been going on. And so kids being out in that campus to go from one area to another, that is never a good thing. As a principal, that would be a nightmare for me. Because you got kids, 6th graders, having to come over to the main building for, say, choir or band or an art class, something like that. You've got 7th and 8th graders leaving the main building to go do things with gym, football, track, baseball, things like that. So you've got kids milling around all over the place. When my girls were younger, they graduated from that site. Uh,
Mm.
that was the high school for them. Even as a mom, during that time frame, even when my girls were there, I did not like that they had to travel all over the campus just to get to different places.
Mhm.
And not only as a safety thing, but when it was raining or if it was snowing, I mean, they were soaking wet. So it's just not conducive to a good educational background. They just need to be safer.
I definitely know that. I know as that's kind of what I do. Being in a building versus, being outside
Yeah,
in bungalows is safer.
yeah.
And so since we're speaking of safe, I'm going to move on from well, one last question on this bond, because it's another thing that comes out, Rhonda. Well, it says, the legal language says that you could raise the taxes however much you want to in order to pay this bond. Um, what do you say to those folks that may be afraid that, if Rhonda's elected, she's going to put 10% right off the bat to pay for this bond?
No, um, that's that's not going to happen. I mean, we're going to steadily pay off as we can, as what we told the public that was going to happen. I mean, we have to be people of our word. You
Hmm.
know, now if the bond doesn't pass, I'm afraid it will have to go up slightly because our only option is to purchase portables.
Hmm.
And we can't do that out of the INS tax allotment. That has to come out of maintenance and operation.
Hmm.
So that takes away from teacher salaries. That takes away from paying the light bill,
Hmm.
paying the water bill. So, unfortunately, that may have to happen just to cover the cost of portables, which is what's going to have to happen.
For most entities in, like, as far as ISDs in this county that I've been able to interview, the one of the highest percentage of expenses is personnel.
Hmm.
That MMO is personnel, MNO budget, and that's teachers,
Hmm.
paraprofessionals, etc.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, okay, so going on, we have, one of the things that are affecting these students is keeping teachers. Teachers are running out of the profession. They
Yeah.
want nothing to do with it. They're going elsewhere, and there's various reasons for that. But I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that you'd like to see the district do in order to attract good teachers?
Um, well, salary is always a huge thing. So we want to definitely offer very competitive pay, um, because we do value our teachers and we want good teachers. And so we need to be prepared to pay them, because it's a tough job being a teacher. It's not easy. I mean, it's just like in other professions. Other professions are tough as well. I have a daughter who's a nurse. She needs to be paid paid for what she does.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of thing. But okay, I was chasing a rabbit right there. Um, so the competitive pay. The school district right now does pay for a life insurance policy. It's a $10,000 life insurance policy, and also for a thing like teledocs. So that um, and I'm going to be real honest right here and say that I don't know if they can pay for if they can offer any assistance with payment for like medical insurance. You know how some companies will pay some things toward medical insurance. With the school district, I'm not sure if that's allowed. Just to be honest, it would have to be something I would need to investigate. I mean, because maybe that's something that could be done. Um, but the biggest thing is with the teachers, they just need to know we love you and we want you and we want to do everything we can to make your job as easy and trouble free as possible. So all you have to do is concentrate on teaching kids. So just know that's where my heart's coming from.
Okay. And then, with one of the other things, or because sometimes you can't do those monetary things, or
Yeah,
there's a lot of laws that get in the way,
yeah,
as you pointed out. But, like Midlothian ISD went to 410s. I'm not saying that's an answer by no means, but it,
yeah.
it was a creative way to try to give the teachers a break. Have you kind of looked into that? Is that something you could support?
With the 4-day,
Yeah, 410s. Yeah.
um, I could
Hmm.
have a problem with that. Um, I would have to think about the community at large because we have kids, a lot of kids that are on like free and reduced lunches. I'd be worried about that day that they're not there with the hot meal for with it for them. Um, some are barely you know paycheck to paycheck. They don't need extra daycare or childcare for
Sure.
that day. So I mean, there's just a lot that goes into that. And I really thought Red Oak got pretty creative this year because it was a huge topic, and they do want to offer some relief to the teachers and to the kids. So they kind of did a hybrid calendar. So I'm very, very curious as to how well that's going to go over and what kind of impact it makes. So I'm not against a 4-day, but there would have to be lots of study going on behind that and lot of input from the community
One of the
to
things that
that
I'm sorry,
direct
go ahead.
them.
Yeah, it does affect them. And that was one of the concerns that came up to a lot of board members was, hey, I work 5 days a week.
Yeah, yeah,
What happens to that extra day? So there was a lot of issues that go into that.
there is.
Um, but definitely trying to attract teachers is a big one, especially because you're competing with these school district that pay so much more or they're bigger. There's
Yeah,
there's a lot that goes into that. But unfortunately, I'm kind of coming up on the end, but we're I want to cover as many subjects as we can, so I'm going to
sure.
move on real quickly. Kind of, there was Uvalde, there was the shooting in Nashville. There's been, from Columbine on up, there's been babies killed. Will you make that a priority in protecting your children or maybe supporting the law enforcement of ROISD?
Yes. Safety is a huge thing for me. Um, oh my goodness. I can't imagine what those school districts have gone through, and thank you God that we haven't had to. Um, and Red Oak has always been very, very pro safety, whatever we can do to make it safe. Um, I think we were probably one of the one of the few ISDs that went to a total police, a presence of police on every campus, and we did that way back, and it was a big relief um, for teachers and parents to know that we had an officer on campus. And I know they do a lot of drills. I mean, the police staff themselves, pardon me, they do a lot of drills, they do a lot of training, but at the same time, the district also does a lot of drills and on the end of safety, and they do a lot of other things like the secure vegetables for um, people coming in. It's no, it's not like in the good old days where you just walked in and just walked right on into the office and could do whatever you needed to. There are a lot of things that are in place right now that will always be a priority for me. Uh, I I would say the top three things would be a priority for me would be safety, fiscally responsible with money, and a sound curriculum, which is we get from the state, our TEKS,
Hmm.
and so that is being taught to its fullest potential.
There is a lot of conversations about what is being taught in schools, and
Mhm.
some people, the big word that's thrown around is CRT, and you get people saying, hey, that's not taught. The college level uh actual class is not being taught, but some of the tentacles are coming in. How do you address a parent that is concerned with that at ROISD?
Well, I want them first to know it's illegal for that to be taught in pre-K through 12th grade, um, and that Red Oak ISD is very, very. I'm not sure the word. We're very okay.
Cognizant.
You're cognizant. Great, thank you.
Hmm.
Of the TEKS curriculum, and that we are teaching the TEKS curriculum, and
Okay.
the TEKS don't include CRT.
Hmm.
Now, you know what our kiddos are picking up from TikTok and Facebook and Instagram and other things out there that I'm sure that I'm not aware of. Um, some of that might be coming in from them bringing it in, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe,
No.
but it's not something that blatantly a teacher is going to teach. And if they are, they're not going to work for Red Oak ISD
Mhm.
anymore because that's unacceptable.
How does Red Oak ISD, because the population is changing. There's a lot of socioeconomic factors that are coming into a region that weren't there before. They weren't there when, a lot of people went to school, even 10, 20 years ago.
Yeah,
So you're starting to get different people, different cultures, different colors. It's changing.
yeah.
So how do you, as a board member, what do you do to make sure that everybody feels welcome at ROISD?
Well, everybody is welcome at ROISD. And I think just by the love that we show the community, the love that we can show the kids and teachers, they're going to understand. For me personally, as a board member, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're with us to receive the finest education and to make lifelong friends and to be able to move on to another career or a life choice that makes you a very sustainable citizen of the United States and hopefully would be a parent or a grandparent at one day. You know, so just so that they can do life and do it responsibly and very well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just making everybody feel welcome, and that's a good
Yeah,
thing because
yeah,
everybody contributes a little bit
yeah.
differently. So before I close out and have you give the closing statement to the parents of ROISD, I wanted to just briefly cover real fast because I'm running out of time. I'm sorry, I just want you to
No,
cover
no,
all of them. There
okay.
might be parents that are really, but sometimes things drop off after 30 minutes. But I wanted to ask you real quickly: special education
Mm,
very mandated, not funded
yes,
very well.
no,
What are some of the things you'd like to see as far as special education? And one of your parts as a board member is maybe talking to, our representative Harrison about
mm,
getting money from Texas. Is that something? Those things are. Will you be proactive for the special needs kids of Red Oak?
yes. And listen, I'm going to say this, and people are probably going to say, "Oh, she's all about adding another administrator." But several years ago, not under Miss Sanford's leadership, the special ed uh, director or overall administrator, that position was done away with.
Wow.
I don't think that was the best move at that point, and I'm not sure how things came about with all of that. But that would be something that I would want to ask about because with a special ed administrator director just concentrating on special ed, because right now it goes back to the principal at the campus level, and their plate's full already. But when you have somebody really honing in on special ed and making sure things are running tightly and that meetings are taking place like they're supposed to, kids are being tested like they need to be, and that they are on top of the money that's coming in from the federal government and how to possibly get more from grants or things that are out there. That's a conversation that I would like to have with Miss Sanford
I
at
can't
some.
believe that there isn't one. That's
There's
crazy.
been one. As long as I've been in the district, we've always had a special education director.
There has to be somebody, and I'm not in favor of super you know bloated
Real,
government,
I,
but when
I,
it
I, I'm not in favor of a real top heavy
yeah,
administrative deal,
but
but that's an important one.
when it comes to special education, there's rules, there's laws, there's
Yeah,
parents sometimes have to get outside advocates to get what they need for their kids, and there's got to be checks and balances, and sometimes and it's not out of malice. Sometimes maybe the principal doesn't know or too busy, and then what happens to the special needs kid?
yeah.
But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm a special needs dad, so I get a little passionate on that. So
No, you go right ahead. You are your child's advocate.
ma'am, this is the part of the show where you talk directly to the people of Red Oak. So I'm sorry, I'm gonna step out the way and let you do it.
Well, the thing that I'd like you to know about me is that I'm not a politician. I am truly an educator and a teacher at heart. I want the very, very best for our kids and teachers. And I want parents to be involved. I want the community to be involved. there's a lot of disunity right now, if that's even a word. Uh, I would hope that I could do my part to begin to bring some unity with the community and get us all back on track for a strong, strong school district. And I'd appreciate your vote.
Well, you know, it's coming up in May and you have a lot of choices. I have put an open invitation out to all of them because I don't have a dog in a fight. I want you, the people of Red Oak, to be as informed as possible so you can go out there and vote. I lost friends. I lost friends in Iraq. I lost friends who couldn't deal with what happened in Iraq. And, you know, I did things that, you know, for my country that I'll regret forever in some senses. Voting is important, is what I'm trying to say. And the abysmal voting in Ellis County it's bad. So get out there and get involved. Anyway, thank you so much for coming on. Will you stick around after I'm done?
Yes. And thank you for the opportunity.